The apartment smelled like cheap lavender air freshener and broken dreams. I could hear Mrs. Chen's television blaring through the paper-thin walls. Some drama where everyone screamed their feelings instead of swallowing them like the rest of us. My fingers trembled as I lit the single candle I'd splurged on. Vanilla bean, because Marcus once said it reminded him of his mother's kitchen. 3 years together, and I still clung to fragments like that, hoping they'd piece together into something resembling love. The closet door hung slightly ajar, just enough for me to peek through the gap at our bedroom. Our. What a generous word for this cramped space with its water-stained ceiling and radiator that clanked like a dying animal. But it was ours, mine and Marcus's. At least I'd convinced myself it was. I pressed my back against his hanging shirts. 2 button-downs for his restaurant job, 1 blazer from Goodwill for important occasions he never defined. They smelled like cigarette smoke and the cologne I'd given him last Christmas. The cheap kind that came in a plastic bottle. My heart hammered against my ribs as I checked my phone. 10:47 p.m. He'd texted 2 hours ago, coming home early. Miss you, baby. Those 3 words had sent me spiraling into motion. I'd showered, shaved, squeezed myself into the black lingerie I'd hidden in my drawer for months, waiting for the right moment. Tonight felt right. Tonight felt like maybe we could salvage whatever was crumbling between us, like sand slipping through desperate fingers. The building groaned around me, settling into its bones. Somewhere above, footsteps echoed. Heavy. Purposeful. Not the shuffle of Mr. Park heading to his night shift. These were different. Expensive shoes against worn carpet? I thought absurdly. How could I possibly know that from sound alone? I couldn't. But I felt it. The temperature seemed to drop. My breath came out in small clouds despite the summer heat that usually turned our apartment into a furnace. Goosebumps raced up my arms, prickling the exposed skin the lingerie didn't cover. I hugged myself, suddenly aware of how vulnerable I was. Half naked, alone, hiding in a closet like a child playing games. The front door opened, not with Marcus's usual fumbling at the lock, cursing under his breath when the key stuck. This was smooth, practiced, the click of a deadbolt being professionally bypassed. My throat constricted. Through the gap, I watched shadows spill across our bedroom floor. Multiple shadows. My pulse roared in my ears, drowning out Mrs. Chen's television, drowning out everything except the primal scream of my instincts. Wrong. This is wrong. 3 men entered my line of vision. The first 2 wore dark suits that probably cost more than my yearly rent. They moved like dancers, like predators, checking corners with the efficiency of people who'd done this 1,000 times. But it was the 3rd man who made my heart forget how to beat. He stood in the doorway, backlit by the hallway's flickering fluorescent light, and I couldn't see his face, only his silhouette. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a coat that hung on him like liquid shadow. Even from my hiding spot, I could sense the power radiating off him like heat from asphalt in July. "Clear," one of the suited men said, his voice low and professional. The 3rd man stepped inside. The dim light from my pathetic candle caught him then, and my breath stopped entirely. He was young, maybe early 30s, with sharp cheekbones that could cut glass and dark hair styled with casual precision, beautiful in the way a blade is beautiful. Dangerous, intentional, mesmerizing. His suit was midnight blue, tailored to perfection, and his shoes, God, his shoes gleamed like they'd never touched common ground. But it was his eyes that paralyzed me. Even from the closet, even in the inadequate light, I could see they were the color of smoke before a fire, cold, calculating. Ancient in a face too young to hold that much darkness, he surveyed the room with the detached interest of someone appraising property. His gaze swept over the sagging bed, the nightstand with its ring of water stains, the framed photo of Marcus and me at Coney Island, the only picture where we both looked genuinely happy. "This is what he chose," the man said, his voice like whiskey and midnight, smooth, but with an edge that promised violence over everything. One of the suited men, the shorter one with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow, nodded. "Marcus Delgado, confirmed he lives here with," he consulted a phone. "Emma Rose Martinez, waitress at Luciano's, 26. No family, no criminal record." My name in this stranger's mouth felt like a violation. How did they know about me? How did they know about Marcus? Where is he? The beautiful man moved deeper into the room. Each step was measured, controlled. He picked up the photo of Marcus and me, studying it with the intensity of someone memorizing faces for darker purposes. Tracker shows he's 3 blocks away, moving fast. He knows we're here. The man set the photo down carefully, almost gently. His fingers were long, elegant, adorned with a single ring on his right hand. Something heavy and old, with an emblem I couldn't make out. Clever boy, but not clever enough. My mind raced, trying to assemble puzzle pieces that didn't fit. Tracker? Marcus running? None of this made sense. Marcus worked doubles at a seafood restaurant. He complained about tips and smelled like fryer grease when he came home. He wasn't the kind of person who got tracked by men in $1,000 suits. Was he? The beautiful man walked to Marcus's side of the bed, opening the nightstand drawer with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what they'd find. He pulled out a stack of cash, more money than I'd ever seen in person, and what looked like a passport. Not Marcus's passport, a fake one. The room tilted. My fingernails dug into my palms, grounding me in physical pain because the emotional vertigo was too much. 3 years. 3 years of split rent and shared meals and promises about our future. 3 years, and I'd been sleeping next to a stranger. Boss. The scarred man approached, voice urgent but respectful. We should move. If he's running, he might. Let him run. The beautiful man's voice dropped to something that made my skin prickle with primitive fear. He can't run from what's coming. He stole from me. From me. The way he said that last word, it wasn't ego. It was fact. The kind of fact that moved mountains and ended lives. He turned then, surveying the room one final time, and his gaze landed on the closet door. On the gap. On me. Time crystallized. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't even blink as his smoke-colored eyes locked with mine through that sliver of space. For one infinite second, the entire world collapsed into that connection. Predator and prey, power and helplessness. Him and me. Something flickered across his face. Surprise? Curiosity? It vanished too quickly to name. He moved toward the closet. Each footstep was a countdown. My heart slammed against my ribs so violently I was certain he could hear it. The candle's flame danced, casting wild shadows that made his approaching figure even more menacing. I pressed myself back as far as the small space allowed, Marcus's shirt swallowing me, his cologne suddenly suffocating. The beautiful man reached for the closet door handle. His hand was steady, ringed finger catching the candlelight. He pulled the door open in one smooth motion. Light flooded in. I stood there, caught, exposed in my ridiculous black lingerie that was supposed to save a relationship I now realized might never have existed. His eyes traveled down my body, not with lust, but with the clinical assessment of someone cataloging assets or liabilities. When his gaze returned to my face, I saw something shift in those smoke-dark depths. Recognition? No. Something worse. Interest. Well, he said softly, dangerously, this is unexpected. I tried to speak, but my voice had abandoned me. All that emerged was a small, broken sound, half gasp, half plea. He stepped closer. The scent of him washed over me, expensive cologne, leather, and something darker I couldn't name. Power, maybe. Violence, perhaps. It didn't matter. I was drowning in it. What's your name? His voice was gentle now, which somehow made it more terrifying. Emma. It came out as a whisper. Emma. He repeated it like he was tasting it, rolling it around to see how it fit in his mouth. Emma Rose Martinez, the waitress with no family and no criminal record. His lips curved into something that might have been a smile on anyone else. On him, it was a warning. The girlfriend who didn't know her boyfriend was a thief and a liar. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I wouldn't give him that. Wouldn't give this moment the satisfaction of breaking me completely. I didn't know, I managed. I swear, I didn't know anything. I believe you. He tilted his head, studying me like I was a problem he needed to solve. Which presents me with a dilemma, Emma Rose. One of the suited men cleared his throat. "Boss, we should—" The beautiful man raised one hand, silencing him without looking away from me. "Marcus stole something very valuable from me. Money, yes, but more than that. He stole my trust, my faith in someone I treated like family." His voice hardened, each word chipped from ice. In my world, there are consequences for such betrayals. I knew what he was saying without him saying it. I'd watched enough movies, read enough books. Men like this, men who moved with security details and spoke in coded threats. They didn't forgive. They didn't forget. They eliminated problems. "Please," I breathed. "Please. I'm not part of whatever this is." "I know." He reached out slowly, giving me time to flinch away, but I was frozen. His fingers brushed my cheek, wiping away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. His touch was surprisingly gentle, at odds with everything else about him. "But you became part of it the moment you chose Marcus Delgado, the moment you let him sleep beside you, lie to you, use you as cover for his crimes. That's not fair." "Fair?" He laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. "Emma Rose, I'm many things, but fair has never been one of them." His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, jaw tightening. "Marcus just withdrew everything from 3 different accounts. He's heading to JFK." The scarred man stepped forward. "Orders, boss?" The beautiful man's eyes never left mine. "Have the team pick him up before he reaches the airport. I want him alive. We have questions only he can answer." He paused, something calculating moving behind those smoke-colored eyes. "And bring everything from this apartment. All of it. Everything?" The man looked around our shabby bedroom with obvious confusion. "Everything," the beautiful man repeated. Then softer, almost to himself. "Including her." The world dropped away. "What?" I stumbled backward, hitting the closet wall. No, you can't." "Can't?" He stepped into the closet with me, crowding me into the corner, his presence overwhelming. This close, I could see flecks of silver in his irises, could feel the heat of his body contrasting with the ice of his demeanor. "Emma Rose, I can do anything I want. I can make people disappear. I can buy buildings and burn them down. I can rewrite reality itself, if it suits me." His hand came up, fingers threading through my hair with a gentleness that belied his words. "And right now, what suits me is keeping you close, until I understand exactly what role you played in Marcus's betrayal." "I didn't play any role," my voice cracked, desperation flooding through. I'm nobody. I'm nothing." Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. "You're not nothing, Emma Rose. You're the one thing Marcus left behind. The one thing he might actually care about more than his own survival." He leaned in, his breath ghosting across my ear as he whispered, "Which makes you the most valuable thing in this apartment." I shuddered, trapped between his body and the wall, my heart a wild thing trying to escape my chest. He pulled back slightly, studying my face with that unsettling intensity. "What were you doing?" "Hiding in the closet in..." His gaze flickered down to the lingerie, something unreadable crossing his features. "This." Humiliation burned through me, hot and acidic. "I was surprising my boyfriend," I said, the words bitter. "It was supposed to be romantic." He tasted the word like it was foreign. "You were waiting in the dark, dressed in black lace, ready to seduce a man who was already halfway to another country with my money." When he put it like that, I sounded like the biggest fool alive. Maybe I was. "Get her something to wear," the beautiful man ordered without looking away from me. "Something appropriate. We're leaving." "Where are you taking me?" Fear gave my voice strength. "You can't just kidnap me." "Kidnap?" His eyebrow arched. Such a harsh word. I prefer to think of it as protective custody. After all, when Marcus realizes we have you, he might do something desperate, something that could put you in danger from people far less. He paused, searching for the word. "Civilized than I am." "You're not civilized," I spat, finding courage in terror. "You're Careful." The word was silk over steel. "Be very careful what you call me, Emma Rose. I'm showing you mercy you don't deserve simply because you're an innocent caught in someone else's web. Don't mistake mercy for weakness." One of the men returned with clothes. My clothes, grabbed hastily from my dresser. Jeans, a sweater. Nothing that matched, but I was past caring about fashion. The beautiful man stepped back, giving me space but blocking the exit. "Get dressed," he said. "We have a long night ahead of us." My hands shook as I reached for the clothes. "And if I refuse?" His smile was a beautiful, terrible thing. "Then you ride to my estate in your lingerie, and everyone on my staff gets a show. Your choice, Emma Rose. I'm feeling generous tonight." It wasn't a choice. It was never a choice. I dressed quickly, awkwardly, trying to maintain some shred of dignity while 3 strangers watched. The beautiful man had the grace to turn slightly, though I could still feel his awareness of me like a physical touch. When I was clothed, he gestured to the door. "After you. My things. Being packed as we speak. You'll have everything you need." "I need my life back," I whispered. His expression softened, just for a moment. "Your life with Marcus was a lie, Emma Rose. I'm actually doing you a favor, some mercy." As I walked out of my apartment, past the men efficiently stripping it of everything I owned, past the neighbors peeking through cracked doors, past the life I'd built from nothing, I felt the beautiful man's hand settle on the small of my back, possessive, protective, proprietary. The night air hit me like a slap. A black SUV waited at the curb, windows tinted so dark they reflected nothing but shadows. The scarred man opened the rear door, and the beautiful man guided me inside with that same gentle pressure. He slid in beside me, close enough that our thighs touched. The door closed with a heavy thunk that sounded like a prison cell locking. "Drive," he ordered. As we pulled away from the only home I'd known in New York, I turned for one last look. The building was already fading into the distance, becoming just another forgotten structure in a city of millions. "What's your name?" I asked quietly. He glanced at me, those smoke-colored eyes unreadable. "Does it matter?" "You know mine. Every detail of my life, apparently. I should at least know what to call the man who's kidnapping me." His lips curved. "Dante. My name is Dante Salvatore." He extended his hand formally, absurdly, as if we'd just met at a cocktail party. "And I'm not kidnapping you, Emma Rose. I'm saving you." I didn't take his hand. He didn't seem offended, merely withdrew it and settled back against the leather seat. "Saving me," I repeated hollowly. "From what?" "From Marcus. From the consequences of his choices. From the life you would have lived believing his lies." He turned to look at me fully, "And perhaps, from yourself." "That doesn't make sense." "It will." His voice dropped to something almost hypnotic. "By morning, everything will make sense. Or nothing will. Either way, Emma Rose Martinez, your life as you knew it ended the moment I opened that closet door." I believed him. God help me. I believed every word. The SUV glided through Manhattan like a shark through dark water. Silent, predatory, untouchable. I pressed myself against the door, maintaining every possible inch of distance from Dante Salvatore, though the vehicle's interior seemed designed to make separation impossible. The leather seats were butter soft, the air conditioning perfectly calibrated, and everything smelled like money and menace. Dante hadn't spoken since his cryptic declaration. He scrolled through his phone with the casual efficiency of someone managing empires, his face illuminated by the blue glow. Occasionally he'd type something, his fingers moving with the same controlled grace that marked everything about him. Each message sent could have been a business deal or a death sentence. I had no way of knowing. I watched the city slide past my window. The bodegas still open at midnight, the groups of young people laughing outside bars. The homeless man on the corner who was always there, who I'd given my spare change to 100 times. Normal life. The life I'd been living just hours ago, oblivious to the fact that my boyfriend was a criminal and I was... what? Collateral damage? A pawn in whatever game these men played? Where are we going? My voice sounded small in the SUV's hushed interior. Somewhere safe. Dante didn't look up from his phone. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting tonight. Frustration warred with fear inside my chest. I'd spent my entire life being compliant, being good, being invisible. The kind of girl who didn't make waves or ask questions. The kind of girl who accepted whatever scraps of affection came her way and called it love. But something about this moment, about being ripped from my home by a man who radiated danger like heat from a furnace, ignited something I'd buried deep. "You can't just take people," I said, louder now. "There are laws, police. I could scream." "You could." Dante finally looked at me, and the intensity in his gaze made my words die in my throat. "You could scream. You could try to run when we stop at a light. You could do a dozen desperate, foolish things." He leaned closer, and I smelled that intoxicating scent again. Leather and smoke and something darker. "But you won't. You don't know that. I do." His voice dropped to a murmur that somehow felt more dangerous than shouting. "Because you're smart, Emma Rose. Smart enough to realize that Marcus left you behind without a second thought. Smart enough to understand that right now, I'm the only thing standing between you and people who wouldn't be having this conversation. They'd simply make you disappear." "What people?" "Marcus didn't just steal from me. He stole from an organization. When word gets out that his girlfriend is still breathing, still walking around with potential knowledge about where he went, what he took." Dante shook his head slowly. "There are men in this city who would do unspeakable things to you to get those answers. Men I can't control. Men I wouldn't want to control because they're useful in their particular way." Ice flooded my veins. "I don't know anything. I believe you. They won't." His hand moved to my knee, not aggressive, almost comforting, though the heat of his palm burned through my jeans. "So, yes, Emma Rose, I'm taking you, but I'm taking you somewhere they can't reach. Somewhere you'll be protected while we sort through this mess your boyfriend created." I stared at his hand on my knee. I should have pushed it away, should have recoiled. Instead, I sat frozen, hyper-aware of every point of contact, every place where his skin touched mine through the fabric. "How long?" I whispered. "As long as it takes. That's not fair?" He smiled that dangerous smile. "We've established I don't do fair." The SUV turned onto a private road I didn't recognize, lined with trees that blocked out the city lights. We drove for another 10 minutes in silence, each mile taking me further from everything familiar. My apartment might have been small and shabby, but it was mine. My job at Luciano's might have been exhausting, but I knew every table, every regular customer, every inch of that restaurant. Now I had nothing. No home, no job, no Marcus. Not that he'd ever really been mine. Just this beautiful, terrifying man beside me and whatever fate he'd decided I deserved. The SUV finally stopped in front of massive iron gates that swung open automatically. Beyond them stretched a driveway lined with perfectly manicured hedges and old-growth trees. At the end of that driveway sat an estate that looked torn from a movie. 3 stories of pale stone and arched windows, with wings extending on either side and actual turrets catching the moonlight. "You live here?" The question escaped before I could stop it. "One of my properties." Dante stepped out, then offered me his hand. I ignored it and climbed out on my own, stumbling slightly in my haste to avoid his touch. The night air was different here, cleaner somehow, tinged with the scent of roses and fresh-cut grass. Expensive air, I thought hysterically. Even the oxygen cost more in places like this. The front doors opened before we reached them. A woman in her 50s with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes stood waiting, her posture military straight despite the late hour. She wore a simple black dress and practical shoes, and something about her reminded me of headmistresses in British novels, stern but not unkind. "Mrs. Chen," Dante greeted her. "We have a guest." Wait, Mrs. Chen? Like my neighbor Mrs. Chen? But this woman looked nothing like a guest who arrives at 1 a.m. in jeans and a sweater. The woman's gaze swept over me with clinical efficiency. Unplanned, I take it. Very. Dante's hand returned to my back, propelling me forward. "Emma Rose Martinez. She'll be staying in the East Wing. Get her settled in the Blue Room, please. She'll need clothes, toiletries, everything." "Of course, sir." Mrs. Chen's expression didn't change, though her eyes sharpened with curiosity. "And how long should I prepare for?" "Indefinitely." That single word hung in the air like a noose. Mrs. Chen nodded. "Follow me, please, Miss Martinez." I looked at Dante. some desperate part of me needing, what, reassurance, permission, an explanation that made sense of any of this? He met my gaze, and for just a moment, something almost gentle flickered in those smoke-colored eyes. You're safe here, Emma Rose. I promise you that much. Your promises don't mean anything to me, I said quietly. They will. He turned away, already pulling out his phone, already moving to whatever crisis or empire demanded his attention next. Mrs. Chen will take care of you. And just like that, I was dismissed. Mrs. Chen led me through a foyer that could have swallowed my entire apartment. Marble floors stretched in every direction, reflecting the light from a crystal chandelier that probably cost more than everything I'd ever owned combined. Paintings in gilded frames lined the walls. Real paintings, the kind you saw in museums, not prints from Target. The blue room is one of our more comfortable guest suites, Mrs. Chen said as we climbed a sweeping staircase. Private bathroom, sitting area, and a balcony overlooking the gardens. I think you'll find it adequate. The word was so absurd I almost laughed. Or cried. I wasn't sure which. I don't understand what's happening, I said, my voice echoing in the vast space. I don't understand any of this. Mrs. Chen paused on the landing, turning to face me. Her expression softened slightly, though her eyes remained sharp. Mr. Salvatore doesn't explain himself often, Miss Martinez. But if he says you're safe here, you are. He's many things, but he keeps his word. He kidnapped me. Did he? She tilted her head. Or did he remove you from a situation that would have ended very badly without his intervention? I wanted to argue, to insist that I'd been fine, that I could have handled whatever came. But we both knew it was a lie. I'd been hiding in a closet in lingerie, waiting for a man who was running from the mob. I hadn't been fine. I'd been a fool. Mrs. Chen resumed walking, and I followed numbly through corridors that seemed to stretch endlessly. Finally, she stopped at a door, opening it to reveal a room that made my eyes water with its casual luxury. The bed was enormous, draped in blue silk that matched the curtains framing French doors. A sitting area featured a velvet sofa, and chairs arranged around a fireplace with an ornate mantel. Fresh flowers in crystal vases perfumed the air. Everything gleamed with the kind of cleanliness that came from dedicated staff, not DIY bleach and prayer. The bathroom is through there, Mrs. Chen pointed to another door. I'll have clothes brought up within the hour. Your size is... How do you... I stopped. They'd ransacked my apartment. They knew everything. Small, size 4. Shoe size? 7. She made notes on her phone with efficient taps. Preferences for breakfast? The question was so bizarrely normal that I almost laughed again. I don't... Coffee? Toast? I'll have chef prepare a selection. You'll eat at 8 in the morning room unless Mr. Salvatore requests otherwise. She moved to the door, then paused. Miss Martinez, a word of advice. Don't try to leave. The grounds are monitored, and the gates are locked. You wouldn't make it 50 feet before security found you, and that would only complicate an already difficult situation. So, I'm a prisoner. You're protected. Her voice was firm, but not unkind. There's a difference, though I understand it may not feel that way now. Give it time. Things often become clearer in the morning. She left, closing the door with a soft click. I stood in the center of that beautiful room, surrounded by luxury I'd never imagined I'd touch, let alone sleep in, and felt more alone than I'd ever been in my life. At least in my apartment, I'd had the illusion of control. Here, I was adrift in someone else's world, governed by rules I didn't understand and couldn't escape. I walked to the French doors, opening them onto a balcony that overlooked gardens illuminated by strategically placed lights. Roses climbed trellises, a fountain splashed somewhere in the darkness. The air smelled like jasmine and money. Beyond the gardens, I could see the high wall surrounding the property, topped with what I assumed was security measures I couldn't identify from this distance. A gilded cage, I thought. Beautiful, but still a cage. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I'd forgotten I still had it. The screen showed 3 missed calls from Sarah, my coworker at Luciano's, and a text. "Girl, where are you? You were supposed to open today and Tony is pissed today." It was already tomorrow. I'd lost hours to this nightmare, and the world had kept spinning without me. Tony would fire me, of course. Wouldn't matter that I'd been kidnapped by the Mafia. I'd missed my shift, and at places like Luciano's, you were replaceable before the door finished closing behind you. I started to text back, then stopped. What would I even say? Sorry, can't come in. Being held hostage by a gorgeous crime lord because my boyfriend stole from him? The phone was suddenly plucked from my hand. I spun to find Dante standing in the doorway to the balcony. I hadn't heard him enter, hadn't heard anything. He moved like smoke, like shadow. There one moment, gone the next. Impossible to pin down or predict. You can't have this. He pocketed my phone with casual authority. Not yet. That's mine. Everything you have is mine now, Emma Rose. Your safety, your secrets, your life. I own all of it until this situation is resolved. He stepped onto the balcony, crowding me against the railing. The garden lights cast his face in sharp relief. All angles and shadows and barely leashed danger. Do you understand what that means? I lifted my chin, refusing to be intimidated even though my heart was trying to escape my chest. It means you're a controlling bastard who thinks he can play God with people's lives. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise? Amusement? Most people don't speak to me that way. I'm not most people. No. His voice dropped to that dangerous murmur. No, you're not. His hand came up, fingers tracing my jawline with a gentleness that contradicted everything else about him. You're the girl who hid in a closet to seduce a man who didn't deserve her. The girl with no family, no safety net, no one to call when the world falls apart. The girl who spent her entire life being invisible. Each word was a scalpel, cutting away the pretense I'd wrapped around myself like armor. You don't know anything about me, I whispered. I know everything about you. His thumb brushed across my lower lip, and I hated the way my breath caught. I know your mother died when you were 16. Cancer. Your father drank himself to death 2 years later. I know you've been on your own since 18. Working 3 jobs to survive in a city that eats people like you for breakfast. I know Marcus was the first person in years who made you feel like maybe you weren't completely alone. His eyes bored into mine, and I know he was using you from the start. A convenient cover, a girl too grateful for scraps to ask questions. Tears burned my eyes because every word was true, and hearing it spoken aloud by this stranger who'd invaded my life made it unbearable. Why do you care? My voice broke. If I'm nobody, if I'm nothing, why not just let me go? Because you're not nothing. His other hand came up, framing my face, holding me captive with touch alone. You're the one thing Marcus cared about. The one weakness in his carefully constructed lies, which means you're valuable to me. As bait, as leverage, as insurance, as... He paused, something shifting in his expression. As someone who needs protecting whether she wants it or not. I don't need you. Yes, you do. His face was inches from mine now, his breath warm against my skin. You just don't know it yet. The moment stretched between us like a wire pulled taut. I should have pushed him away, should have screamed, fought, done anything except stand there trembling as his thumb traced patterns on my cheek that sent fire racing through my veins. I hate you, I breathed. I know. His lips curved into that dangerous smile. But you'll get over it. He released me and stepped back, leaving me cold despite the summer warmth. Get some sleep, Emma Rose. Tomorrow we have much to discuss about your boyfriend and exactly what he stole from me. I told you I don't know anything. Then you'll learn. He moved to the door, pausing to look back at me. And Emma Rose? Don't think about running. I'd find you before you made it to the gates, and I don't like chasing what's already mine. I'm not yours. His smile widened, sharp and predatory. Keep telling yourself that. Maybe by the time you realize the truth, it won't be so terrifying. He left, and this time I heard the lock click from the outside. Locked in. Trapped. Protected or imprisoned, depending on perspective. I sank onto the balcony floor, hugging my knees to my chest, and finally let the tears come. For Marcus and his lies. For my stolen life. For the girl I'd been just hours ago, naive enough to believe in love and second chances. That girl was gone. In her place was someone I didn't recognize. Someone who'd looked a monster in the eye and felt her heart race not just with fear, but with something far more dangerous. The gardens below blurred through my tears, their beauty meaningless in the face of my captivity. Somewhere in the house, Dante Salvatore was probably orchestrating Marcus's capture, planning whatever horrors awaited a man who'd stolen from the mob, and I was here, locked in a gilded cage, wearing the collar of a beautiful predator who'd decided I was worth keeping. God help me. Sunlight invaded the blue room like an unwelcome guest, dragging me from nightmares where closets became coffins and smoke-colored eyes watched me drown. I jolted awake, disoriented, my body aching from having eventually crawled into the massive bed sometime after 3 a.m. For one blissful second, I forgot where I was. Then memory crashed through me like a wave. Marcus. The men in suits. Dante Salvatore and his terrible beauty. The locked door. I sat up, sheets pooling around my waist, silk sheets that cost more than my monthly salary. Someone had entered while I slept. Fresh clothes were laid out on the velvet sofa. Designer jeans with tags still attached, a soft cashmere sweater in cream, underwear and bras still in packaging, everything exactly my size. The violation of it made my skin crawl. They'd come into my room while I was unconscious, vulnerable. They could have done anything, but they hadn't. Just left clothes and departed like ghosts. I showered in the marble bathroom with its rainfall showerhead and luxury products I couldn't pronounce, trying to scrub away the feeling of being watched, owned, catalogued. The water was perfect, not the lukewarm trickle of my apartment's ancient plumbing, but hot and pressurized and endless. I hated how good it felt. When I emerged, wrapped in a towel softer than anything I'd ever touched, a young woman in a maid's uniform was arranging breakfast on a cart by the window. "Oh!" She startled when she saw me. "I'm sorry, miss, I knocked, but you didn't answer. I'll just—" "It's fine." My voice came out rougher than intended. "What time is it?" "8:15, miss. Mr. Salvatore requested you join him for breakfast in the morning room at 8:30. She was pretty, maybe 20, with dark hair pulled into a neat bun and eyes that wouldn't quite meet mine. But I brought you coffee and pastries in case you preferred to eat here first. The smell of fresh coffee made my stomach clench with need. I couldn't remember the last time I'd eaten. Before the closet. Before everything shattered. Thank you. I moved to the cart, wrapping the towel tighter. What's your name? Rosa, miss. She bobbed slightly like a curtsy. If you need anything at all, just press the button by the bed. Someone will come immediately. Someone. Not her specifically. Just someone from Dante's endless supply of people who jumped when he commanded. Rosa, can I ask you something? I kept my voice low, conspiratorial. The doors, are they all locked from the outside? Her eyes widened with something like fear. I don't know, miss. I just work in housekeeping. She backed toward the door. I should go. Mr. Salvatore doesn't like to be kept waiting. She fled before I could say anything else. I dressed quickly in the clothes they'd provided, hating how perfectly everything fit, how expensive it all felt against my skin. The jeans hugged my curves like they'd been tailored specifically for me. Maybe they had been. Maybe Dante had people who could accomplish anything, even overnight alterations. The thought made me shudder. At 8:30 exactly, Mrs. Chen appeared to escort me downstairs. She led me through a different route than last night, past rooms filled with antique furniture and artwork that belonged in museums, until we reached a sun-drenched space overlooking the gardens. Dante sat at a table set for two, reading something on his tablet. He'd changed into casual clothes, dark jeans and a charcoal sweater that probably cost more than my monthly rent, and somehow looked even more dangerous in daylight. Morning sun caught in his dark hair and illuminated those smoke-colored eyes as he glanced up. Emma rose. He stood, gesturing to the chair across from him. I hope you slept well. I was locked in. I remained standing, like a prisoner. Like someone being protected. He pulled out my chair, waiting. Sit, eat. We have much to discuss, and I prefer not to negotiate on an empty stomach. We're negotiating? Everything is negotiation. His smile was sharp. Even kidnapping. The table held enough food for 6 people. Eggs Benedict, fresh fruit, pastries, bacon, sausage, yogurt, granola. A carafe of orange juice sweated next to what smelled like the best coffee I'd never afford. My stomach betrayed me with a loud growl. "Sit," Dante repeated, softer this time. "Please." I sat. Not because he asked, but because my knees were shaking and I needed the chair's support. He settled across from me, pouring coffee into delicate china cups that looked like they'd shatter if you breathed on them wrong. Cream? Sugar? Black. I accepted the cup, wrapping my hands around it for warmth, despite the room's perfect temperature. We ate in silence for several minutes. I tried to maintain dignity, to eat slowly like this was normal, but hunger won. The eggs were perfectly cooked, the fruit impossibly fresh, the pastries still warm from the oven. Food at my apartment had been ramen and cereal and whatever I could steal from Luciano's kitchen when Tony wasn't looking. This was obscene. "Better?" Dante asked when I'd cleared half my plate. "What do you want from me?" I set down my fork, meeting his gaze. "You said we needed to talk about Marcus and what he stole. So talk." He leaned back, studying me with that unnerving intensity. "Marcus worked for me for 3 years. Started as a driver, proved himself reliable, moved up to handling more sensitive operations. I trusted him. Something cold moved through his expression. That was my mistake. What did he take? $2 million in cash from a shipment. Bearer bonds worth another $5 million. And information, names, routes, contacts that could destroy relationships I've spent a decade building." Dante's fingers tightened around his coffee cup. "But mostly, he took my trust. In my world, that's worth more than money. $7 million. The number was so absurd I almost laughed. Marcus, who complained about $50 bills being too hard to break, had stolen $7 million. "I don't know where it is," I said flatly. "I don't know anything about any of this." "I believe you." Dante pulled out his phone, tapping the screen before sliding it across the table. "But I need you to look at something." The screen showed a photo of Marcus, but not the Marcus I knew. This Marcus wore an expensive suit and smiled at someone off camera with an ease I'd never seen. He looked confident, powerful. Nothing like the anxious man who worked doubles and worried about rent. "That was taken 6 months ago," Dante said, "at a club in Miami. He was supposed to be negotiating a deal with our suppliers. Instead, he was establishing contacts for his escape." He swiped to another photo. Marcus with a blonde woman in a red dress, her arms around his neck, his hand on her waist. They looked like a couple. They looked happy. My coffee turned to acid in my stomach. "Her name is Vanessa Cortez," Dante continued, his voice clinically detached. "She's a lawyer who specializes in helping people disappear. New identities, offshore accounts, everything needed to vanish completely." Another swipe. More photos. Marcus and Vanessa at restaurants I couldn't afford, on a yacht I couldn't imagine, in hotel rooms that cost more per night than my monthly rent. They've been together for 8 months. 8 months. While he was sleeping in my bed, complaining about his boss, promising me we'd save up for a real vacation someday. 8 months of lies layered on more lies. "Why are you showing me this?" My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. "Because you need to understand that the man you thought you loved never existed." Dante's eyes bored into mine. "You loved a ghost, Emma Rose. A carefully constructed fiction designed to provide cover while he planned his betrayal." "Stop." The word came out broken. "Just stop." "I can't stop." He reached across the table, his hand covering mine. His touch was warm, solid, real in a way that made my head spin. "You need to see this, all of it. Because when Marcus realizes we have you, he's going to try to use your feelings against both of us." I yanked my hand away. "I don't have feelings for him anymore. How could I, after—" I gestured at the phone, at the evidence of Marcus's double life. "After seeing that, good." Something that might have been approval flickered in Dante's expression. "Then you'll help me." "Help you how?" Marcus will contact you. He'll try to convince you he still cares, that everything was for you, that he has some noble reason for what he did. Dante stood, moving around the table until he was behind my chair. His hand settled on my shoulders, warm and heavy, and somehow comforting despite everything. When he does, I need you to play along. Make him think you believe him. Get him to tell you where he is, so you can kill him. So I can get back what he stole and ensure he never betrays anyone again. His hands tightened slightly. What happens to him after that is between Marcus and his conscience. You mean he won't have one after you're done with him? Dante's laugh was low and dark. I like that you're not naive about what I am, Emma rose. It makes things simpler. I should have been terrified, should have recoiled from his touch, from his casual acknowledgement of violence. Instead, I found myself leaning back slightly, seeking the warmth of his hands, the solid presence of him behind me. What was wrong with me? What if I refuse? I asked. What if I won't help you? His hands slid from my shoulders down my arms in a slow, deliberate caress that sent shivers racing through me. Then you remain my guest until Marcus has found another way. Comfortable, protected, but still here. Still mine. I'm not yours, he finished, bending so his lips were near my ear.
I know, you keep saying it. But Emma Rose, every time you say it, it becomes less true. You feel it, don't you? The way your body responds when I touch you. The way your breath catches when I'm near. The way you leaned into my hands just now, seeking comfort from the monster who took you. I jerked away, standing so fast my chair toppled backward. You're delusional. Am I? He straightened, watching me with those predatory eyes. Or am I simply honest about what's happening between us while you're still lying to yourself? Nothing is happening, isn't it? He moved closer, stalking me around the table until my back hit the wall. You hate me. You fear me. But there's something else there too, Emma Rose. Something that terrifies you more than I ever could. He was too close, overwhelming my senses with his presence. I could see silver flecks in his irises, could smell leather and expensive cologne, could feel heat radiating from his body like a furnace. You're wrong, I whispered, but even I could hear the lie in my voice. His hand came up, cupping my face with that same gentleness that contradicted everything else about him. Am I? Then why is your pulse racing? Why are you trembling? Why haven't you pushed me away? Because I couldn't. God help me, I couldn't. His thumb traced my lower lip, and my breath hitched. His eyes darkened with something I recognized from the closet. Not lust exactly, but possession. Ownership. The absolute certainty that I belonged to him whether I admitted it or not. This is insane, I breathed. Yes. His other hand settled on my waist, pulling me closer until our bodies were nearly touching. But insanity is my specialty. The moment stretched, taut and terrible and electric. Part of me wanted him to close the distance, to kiss me, to make this twisted attraction concrete and undeniable. Another part wanted to knee him in the groin and run screaming into the gardens. I did neither. A phone rang, shattering the tension like glass. Dante's jaw tightened with frustration before he stepped back, pulling his phone from his pocket. What? His voice was sharp, commanding. He listened for a moment, his expression going cold and hard. When? And you're certain? Another pause. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Keep him secured until I arrive. He ended the call and looked at me with something that might have been regret. They found Marcus. He's being brought to my office downtown. His hand cupped my face again, brief and possessive. Get dressed in something appropriate. You're coming with me. Why would I? Because you need to see him, Emma Rose. You need to see what he really is when he's cornered and desperate. You need to hear his excuses and lies without the rose-colored glasses of affection. His eyes bored into mine, and because I want him to see you standing beside me, wearing my clothes under my protection. I want him to understand exactly what he lost when he chose money over you. This isn't about me. Everything is about you now. His voice dropped to that dangerous murmur. Don't you understand? The moment I opened that closet door and saw you standing there, everything changed.
Marcus doesn't get to have you. He doesn't get to use you or lie to you or pretend he cared. You're mine now, Emma Rose. The sooner you accept that, the easier this will be." He left before I could argue, his footsteps echoing through the house. I stood against the wall, heart pounding, body trembling, mind reeling from everything that had just happened. The photos of Marcus and Vanessa, the casual discussion of violence, the way Dante had touched me, the way I'd responded, the way part of me had wanted more. Mrs. Chen appeared in the doorway. "Miss Martinez, Mr. Salvatore has requested I help you select appropriate attire for downtown. If you'll follow me?" I followed numbly, a puppet on strings pulled by invisible hands. This was my life now. Following orders, wearing borrowed clothes, being escorted by strangers through a house that felt more like a museum than a home, being claimed by a man who collected people the way others collected art. In my room, Mrs. Chen laid out options. A black dress that looked like it cost more than I made in a month, matching heels that were somehow exactly my size, jewelry that gleamed with real gold and stones I couldn't name. "Mr. Salvatore wants you to look the part," she said, not unkindly. "People downtown, they need to see that you're under his protection, that you matter to him. I don't matter to him." I touched the dress, the fabric like water beneath my fingers. "I'm just leverage." "Is that what you think?" Mrs. Chen's expression was unreadable. "Miss Martinez, I've worked for Mr. Salvatore for 15 years. I've seen him with many women, beautiful women, powerful women, women who would give anything to stand where you're standing." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "I've never seen him look at any of them the way he looked at you this morning. He wants something from me." "Yes." She smiled slightly, "But perhaps not what you think." She left me to dress, and I stared at myself in the full-length mirror. The woman looking back was a stranger. Elegant, expensive, polished in ways I'd never been. The dress hugged curves I usually hid beneath baggy work clothes. The heels made my legs look endless. The jewelry caught the light like captured stars. I looked like I belonged in Dante's world. The realization terrified me more than anything else. A knock at the door made me jump. Rosa entered with a small makeup bag. "Mr. Salvatore thought you might want help with—" "I can do my own makeup," I said, harsher than intended. She set the bag down and fled. I applied makeup with shaking hands, just enough to hide the exhaustion and fear. In the mirror, the transformation was complete. I looked confident, untouchable, like someone who hadn't spent yesterday hiding in a closet waiting for a man who was already gone. Dante was waiting in the foyer, talking on his phone in what sounded like Italian. He turned when he heard my heels on the marble floor, and whatever he was saying died mid-sentence. His eyes traveled over me slowly, thoroughly, missing nothing. When his gaze returned to my face, the hunger there made my knees weak. "Bellissima," he murmured, ending his call without looking away. "You were made for this life, Emma Rose. You just didn't know it yet. This isn't my life. It is now." He offered his arm. "Ready to face your past?" I didn't take his arm. "I'll never be ready." "Good." His smile was sharp and dangerous and beautiful. The best things in life rarely come from being ready. The SUV was waiting, flanked by 2 additional vehicles filled with security. We drove through morning traffic, Dante handling business on his phone while I stared out the window at a city that felt foreign now. Every person we passed was living their normal life, unaware that the girl in the expensive car was a captive dressed in her captor's clothes. Dante's office was in a gleaming skyscraper in Midtown, the kind of building with marble lobbies and security that actually looked at your ID. We took a private elevator to the top floor, emerging into a reception area that screamed money and power. His assistant, a severe woman in her 40s, stood immediately. "He's in conference room A. Marco and Enzo are with him." "Good." Dante's hand found the small of my back. "Come, Emma Rose. Let's see what your boyfriend has to say for himself." Conference room. It had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan, but I barely noticed the view. Marcus sat at the table, hands zip-tied in front of him, blood crusted around his nose, left eye already swelling shut. He looked up when we entered, and his face crumpled. "Emma," he gasped. "Emma. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I never meant for you to get involved." "Shut up," Dante said calmly. He guided me to a chair at the table's head, positioning me like a queen while he stood behind me, hands possessive on my shoulders. You don't get to talk to her. You don't get to apologize. You gave up that right when you chose money over everything else. Marcus's eyes darted between us, recognition dawning. You're with him? Emma, he's a monster. He'll kill you. He saved me. The words came out before I could stop them. From the mess you created. And in that moment, staring at the man I'd thought I loved, seeing him broken and desperate and still trying to manipulate me, I realized they were true. Dante had saved me. From Marcus. From my own naivety. From a life that was always going to end badly. His hands tightened on my shoulders, and I felt his approval like heat soaking through my skin. Now then, Dante said, his voice dropping to that dangerous murmur. Let's talk about what you took from me, and what you're going to do to get out of this alive. Marcus started talking, words tumbling over themselves in desperate confession, and I sat there, dressed in diamonds and designer labels, feeling Dante's hands anchor me to this new reality, and understood that whatever happened next, I could never go back to the girl I'd been. That girl had died in a closet. This version, the one sitting beside a monster who made her feel more alive than any good man ever had, was all that remained. Marcus talked for 2 hours straight, his voice hoarse with desperation, words bleeding into each other as he confessed everything, the offshore accounts, the fake passports, Vanessa and her promises of a new life in the Cayman Islands. Every syllable was a knife twisting in wounds I hadn't known existed until yesterday. I sat motionless through it all, Dante's presence behind me like a stone guardian. His hands never left my shoulders, thumbs occasionally brushing my collarbone in small, possessive circles that should have repulsed me, but instead grounded me, kept me from floating away into the numbness threatening to swallow me whole. I never meant to hurt you, Em, Marcus said for the 100th time, his good eye pleading. You have to believe that. Everything I did, it was supposed to give us a better life. No more roaches in the apartment, no more double shifts, no more me being useful, I interrupted, my voice surprisingly steady. That's what you mean, isn't it? Once you had enough money to disappear, you didn't need the struggling girlfriend providing cover anymore. Marcus flinched. That's not... It's exactly true. Dante's voice was silk over razors. You kept her poor, kept her grateful, kept her too exhausted to ask questions. Classic manipulation. Almost admirable in its thoroughness. His hand slid from my shoulder to my throat. Not threatening, just possessive, his fingers resting against my pulse. Unfortunately for you, she's not your concern anymore. Emma. Please. Tears tracked through the blood on Marcus's face. I loved you. I still... Don't. The word cracked like a whip. I stood abruptly, Dante's hand falling away, and walked to the windows overlooking Manhattan. The city sprawled beneath us, millions of people living their ordinary lives, while mine detonated in this glass tower. Don't you dare say you loved me. Love doesn't lie. Love doesn't use. Love doesn't abandon someone in an apartment about to be raided by criminals looking for answers. Behind me, I heard Marcus's sharp intake of breath. He hadn't thought about that. About what would have happened if Dante's men had arrived and I'd been there alone, unknowing, vulnerable. The money, Dante said. All business now. Where is it? Vanessa has it. Most of it, anyway. Marcus slumped in his chair, defeat written in every line of his body. She was supposed to meet me at JFK, but when I got there, she was gone. No text, no call, nothing. She took everything and disappeared. Loyalty among thieves, Dante murmured. How poetic. One of his men, Marco, the scarred one from last night, leaned in and whispered something. Dante's expression went cold and hard, all trace of humanity vanishing like smoke. Find her, he ordered. And when you do, bring her to the estate. I want to have a conversation about people who steal from me. His eyes flicked to Marcus. Take him to the South Warehouse. Keep him breathing until I decide what his life is worth. No, please. Marcus struggled against his restraints as Marco hauled him up. Emma, tell him. Tell him I can fix this. I can get the money back. I turned from the window, meeting his desperate gaze with nothing. No anger, no pity, no lingering affection. Just emptiness where love used to live. "Goodbye, Marcus." His screams echoed down the hallway as they dragged him away, fading until only silence remained. I stood at the window, staring at my reflection in the glass. The woman looking back was still a stranger in her expensive dress and borrowed jewels. But something had shifted in her eyes, something harder, colder, forged in the fires of betrayal and survival. "Are you going to kill him?" I asked without turning around. "Does it matter?" Dante's footsteps approached, his reflection appearing beside mine in the glass. "Would you mourn him if I did?" "No." The honesty surprised me. I'd mourn the person I thought he was. But that person never existed. No, he didn't. Dante's hand found my waist, pulling me back against his chest. We stood like that, watching our reflection. Beauty and the beast, predator and prey. Something twisted that defied easy categorization. "But you exist, Emma Rose. You're real, painfully, brutally real. I don't feel real." I leaned into him despite every instinct screaming not to. "I feel like I'm watching someone else's life from outside my body. That's shock." His other hand came up, brushing hair from my face with surprising tenderness. "It'll pass. And when it does, you'll have to decide who you want to be in this new reality. What if I want to go back? To my apartment, my job, my normal life? There is no going back." His arms tightened around me. "Even if I let you walk out of here right now, which I won't, you'd never be safe. Marcus talked to too many people, made too many promises using your name as leverage. There are men in this city who think you know where the money is, who believe you were part of the plan from the start." His lips brushed my temple, the gesture achingly gentle. "The only way you survive is under my protection, which means staying exactly where you are. In your cage. In my life." He turned me to face him, his hands framing my face. "I know you don't understand this yet, but that closet, Marcus abandoning you, me finding you, it was fate, Emma Rose. You were never meant for that small life with a small man and small dreams. You were meant for this, for me. You're insane." But my voice lacked conviction, probably. His thumb traced my lower lip, his eyes dark with hunger that had nothing to do with violence. "But I'm insane about you. From the moment I saw you standing there in that closet, terrified and beautiful and so goddamn vulnerable, something shifted in me, something I didn't know could shift anymore. You don't know me. I know everything about you." His forehead pressed against mine, our breath mingling. "I know you take your coffee black because cream and sugar cost extra, and you couldn't justify the expense. I know you walk 40 blocks to save subway fare. I know you give your tips to the homeless man on your corner, even when it means going hungry yourself. I know you're kind and brave and loyal to people who don't deserve it." His hands tightened on my face, and I know that under all that softness is steel. The kind of steel that survives. The kind that thrives when given the right environment. "And you're the right environment?" I should have pulled away, should have slapped him. Should have done anything except stand there letting his words sink into my skin like poison or cure. I couldn't tell which. "I'm the only environment." His lips hovered over mine, close enough to kiss but holding back. "Say yes, Emma Rose." "Yes to what?" "To this. To me. To letting me give you everything Marcus promised but never could. Safety. Luxury. A life where you never have to count pennies or work yourself to exhaustion or settle for men who don't see your worth." His eyes burned into mine. "Say yes to being mine in truth, not just by circumstance." The word trembled on my lips. Yes, God help me. Yes, but some part of me, the part that still remembered who I'd been 24 hours ago, fought back. "I need time," I whispered. "You have until tonight." He released me, stepping back, the distance between us suddenly vast and cold. "I'm hosting a charity gala at the estate. Everyone who matters in this city will be there. You'll stand beside me, wear the diamonds I give you, and let them all see that you're under my protection. That you're mine. And if I refuse, you won't." He adjusted his cuffs, the gesture casual but his eyes still burning. "Because you're starting to understand what I've known since last night. We're inevitable, Emma Rose. You can fight it, delay it, deny it. But in the end, you'll come to me. You'll choose this life. You'll choose me. Your ego is astounding. My certainty is earned, He moved to the door, pausing to look back. Mrs. Chen will help you prepare for tonight. Dress, hair, makeup, everything will be provided. All you have to do is show up and look like you belong at my side. What if I can't? What if I look at all those people and realize I'm just a waitress playing dress-up in a world that was never meant for me? Something softened in his expression. Then you look at me, Emma Rose. Only me. And you remember that I've seen you at your most vulnerable, hiding in a closet in lingerie meant for another man. And I still chose you. Not for what you can give me, not for leverage or manipulation, but because when I looked in your eyes, I saw someone worth keeping. He left before I could respond, the door clicking shut with a finality that echoed through my bones. I sank into the nearest chair, legs suddenly unable to support me. The room smelled like leather and expensive cologne, and the lingering scent of Marcus's fear. Outside the windows, the city continued its relentless march toward evening, indifferent to the fact that my entire existence had been rewritten in less than 24 hours. My phone, the one Dante had taken last night, appeared on the table in front of me. I hadn't heard anyone enter, but there it was, placed carefully beside a bottle of water and 2 pills in a small dish. A note in elegant handwriting. For the headache you're trying to hide, and your phone, in case you need to say goodbye to your old life properly. D. I stared at the phone like it might bite me. Turning it on felt like opening Pandora's box, letting the outside world intrude on whatever strange bubble I'd been trapped in since Dante Salvatore entered my life. But I needed to know, needed to see what remained of Emma Martinez, waitress, nobody, girl who hid in closets, 17 missed calls from Sarah, 32 texts ranging from concerned to furious, 3 voicemails from Tony firing me in progressively angrier messages. An eviction notice from my landlord, emailed at 6 this morning. My entire life, dissolved in a series of digital notifications. I should have felt devastated, should have mourned the loss of everything I'd built from nothing. Instead, I felt relief. Like shackles I hadn't known I was wearing had finally fallen away. God, what was wrong with me? I typed a message to Sarah. I'm okay. Had to leave town for a family emergency. Don't worry about me. Take care. Emma. A lie? But what else could I say? Actually, I'm being held captive by a Mafia boss who's decided I belong to him, but the food is amazing and he might be right. I sent it before I could overthink, then powered the phone off and set it face down on the table. That life was over. The question was, who would I become in its place? The estate transformed as evening approached. Staff materialized like spirits, hanging lights in the gardens, arranging flowers in crystal vases, setting up bars and food stations with military precision. Through my bedroom window, I watched luxury cars begin to arrive, depositing women in gowns that cost more than I used to make in a year and men in tuxedos that fit like second skins. This was Dante's world, power and wealth and beauty so casual it stopped being remarkable and became simply expected. Mrs. Chen had indeed helped me prepare, bringing a team of stylists who worked on me like I was a sculpture to be perfected. My hair fell in glossy waves that had taken an hour to achieve. My makeup was dramatic but flawless, emphasizing cheekbones I didn't know I had. And the dress. The dress was a masterpiece of midnight blue silk that matched Dante's eyes, fitted to my body with a couture precision that made me look like I'd been born to wear such things. Diamonds glittered at my throat and ears. Real diamonds, Mrs. Chen had assured me, from Dante's private collection. He wants you to outshine every woman here, she'd said while clasping the necklace. He wants them to look at you and understand that you're not just another guest. You're his. Now, standing before the mirror, I barely recognized myself. This woman was confident, elegant, dangerous in her beauty. This woman could stand beside Dante Salvatore and not look like she didn't belong. This woman terrified me. A knock at the door made me turn. Dante entered without waiting for permission, and the sight of him stole my breath. He wore a tuxedo that had clearly been tailored for his body specifically, every line and angle emphasizing the predatory grace of his movements. His hair was styled back, revealing the sharp planes of his face, and his eyes. His eyes devoured me whole. Cristo, he breathed, stopping just inside the door. You're devastating. Mrs. Chen and her team did all the work. No. He crossed to me in 3 long strides, his hand settling on my waist. They simply revealed what was always there. You're magnificent, Emma Rose. You always were. You just needed someone to see it. His proximity made thinking difficult. The scent of him, that intoxicating blend of leather and smoke and something uniquely him, wrapped around me like a drug. His hands on my waist burned through the silk, branding me with their heat. I don't know if I can do this, I whispered. Face all those people. Pretend I'm someone I'm not. You're not pretending. His hand came up, tilting my chin so I had to meet his eyes. This is who you are, Emma Rose. This is who you've always been, trapped in a life too small to contain you. Tonight, you step into your truth, and I'll be beside you every moment. Why? The question burst out, desperate and raw. Why do you care? Why me, out of all the women you could have? His smile was slow, predatory, heated, because you're the only one who doesn't want to be here. Every other woman in this house tonight would kill to stand where you're standing. But you'd run if I let you. You fight me at every turn. You challenge me, question me, refuse to be impressed by wealth or power. His thumb brushed across my lips. You make me work for it, Emma Rose, and I haven't had to work for anything in a very long time. So this is a game to you. This is everything to me. The intensity in his voice made me shiver. You just don't know it yet. Before I could respond, he stepped back and offered his arm. Ready? No. Perfect. His smile turned sharp. The best performances come from being terrified. We descended the grand staircase together, his hand possessive on my waist, my heart thundering so loud I was certain everyone could hear it. The main hall was filled with people who looked like they'd stepped from magazine pages. Beautiful, powerful, dripping with the casual arrogance of the wealthy. Every eye turned to us as we reached the bottom of the stairs. Dante! A silver-haired man in his 60s approached, champagne in hand. Wonderful party as always. And who is this stunning creature? Emma Rose Martinez, Dante said, his hand tightening on my waist. Emma Rose, this is Senator Morrison. He occasionally pretends the law applies to men like me. The senator laughed, but his eyes assessed me with the calculation of a man used to cataloging assets and liabilities. Charmed, my dear. How do you know our Dante? She doesn't need to know me, Dante said smoothly. She simply needs to be mine. The possessiveness in those words sent electricity down my spine. Around us, I felt the attention sharpen, women's eyes narrowing with jealousy, men's gazes flickering with interest, and then away when they saw Dante's expression. We moved through the party like royalty, Dante introducing me to judges and businessmen, socialites and politicians. Each conversation was a performance, with him playing the gracious host and me playing. What? The mysterious new girlfriend, the trophy, the latest acquisition. You're doing beautifully, Dante murmured during a lull, his lips near my ear. See how they look at you? Like they can't quite figure you out. You're a puzzle they desperately want to solve. I don't want to be a puzzle. Too late. His hand slid lower on my back, just above the curve of my hip. You're mine now, which makes you the most interesting person in this room. A woman approached then, tall, blonde, beautiful in a cold, calculated way. She wore red silk like armor and smiled at Dante with the intimacy of someone who'd shared more than conversation. Dante, darling. She air-kissed both his cheeks, ignoring me completely. I haven't seen you in ages. Where have you been hiding? Working, Isabella. His tone was polite but distant. You remember what work is, don't you? Her laugh was sharp. Barely, darling. Life's too short to waste on anything as tedious as work. Her eyes finally landed on me. Dismissive. And who's this? Another charity case you're helping? Before Dante could respond, I heard myself speak. Actually, I'm the woman he can't stop touching. You remember what that's like, don't you? Isabella's smile froze. Around us, several people coughed into their drinks. Dante's hand squeezed my hip. Approval or warning, I couldn't tell. Emma Rose has a refreshing directness. I find it charming. How quaint. Isabella's eyes went cold. Well, do enjoy your evening. She swept away in a cloud of expensive perfume and wounded pride. That was dangerous, Dante said once she was gone. Was it wrong? No. His smile was proud, possessive, heated. It was perfect. You're learning, Emma Rose. Learning that you don't have to shrink yourself for anyone. Not anymore. The evening blurred after that, champagne I barely touched. Conversations that felt like chess matches, Dante's constant presence at my side both anchor and chain. Every time someone asked how we met, he'd smile mysteriously and change the subject. Every time a man's gaze lingered too long, Dante would pull me closer, his body language screaming mine in ways that should have offended me, but instead made me feel safe, wanted, claimed in ways I'd never experienced. It was intoxicating. It was terrifying. It was everything I'd never known I wanted. As midnight approached, Dante led me away from the crowd to a private terrace overlooking the gardens. The party continued inside, muted now by distance and glass, leaving us alone under stars that seemed brighter here than in the city. You survived, he said, pulling me against him. You more than survived, you conquered. I insulted one of your guests. Isabella needed insulting. She's been insufferable since our brief association ended 3 years ago. His hand settled on my waist, thumbs tracing small circles through the silk. Besides, watching you defend your territory was the highlight of my evening. It's not my territory, isn't it? He turned me to face the gardens, his body pressed against my back, his arms wrapped around me. Look at this, Emma Rose. Look at what could be yours. Not just the estate, not just the wealth, but the freedom, the power, the life where you never have to compromise or settle or accept less than you deserve, and all I have to do is belong to you. All you have to do is choose me. His lips brushed my neck, sending shivers racing through me. Choose this life. Choose safety and luxury and me worshiping you the way Marcus never could. Choose to stop fighting what we both know is inevitable. I closed my eyes, overwhelmed by sensation, his heat, his scent, the way his body fit against mine like we'd been designed to connect. The garden below was beautiful, the party inside full of people who'd accepted me as one of them, and the man holding me was offering everything I'd never dared dream of wanting. What if I'm not strong enough? I whispered. What if I can't be who you need me to be? You already are. He turned me in his arms, his eyes burning in the moonlight. You just need to stop being afraid of your own power. His lips claimed mine before I could respond. Not gentle, not asking permission, but demanding everything. I melted into him, my hands fisting in his jacket, my body arching against his as the kiss deepened into something that erased thought and left only feeling. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. Say yes, he commanded. Say you're mine. And God help me, with the taste of him still on my lips and his eyes dark with possession, I whispered the word that would seal my fate. Yes. The word hung between us like a promise or a curse. I couldn't tell which. Dante's eyes blazed with triumph, and something darker, more primal. His hands tightened on my waist before he claimed my mouth again, this kiss slower but no less devastating. I tasted victory on his tongue, felt ownership in the way his fingers threaded through my carefully styled hair, destroying hours of work and not caring. When he finally released me, I was trembling. Come. He took my hand, pulling me back toward the house. We're done with the party, but your guests can entertain themselves. His stride was purposeful, possessive, his grip on my hand unbreakable. I've played host long enough. Now I want what's mine. We moved through the crowd like smoke, Dante dismissing attempts at conversation with curt nods. I caught glimpses of curious faces, Isabella's venomous glare, the senator's knowing smirk. They all understood what was happening. The host claiming his prize, disappearing into the night with the mysterious woman who'd appeared from nowhere. Let them watch. Let them wonder. I was done caring what anyone thought. Dante led me upstairs, past my blue room, down corridors I hadn't explored. We stopped at double doors at the estate's far end, his private wing, I realized, his sanctuary. Last chance to run, Emma Rose. He turned to face me, his thumb tracing my swollen lips. Once you walk through these doors with me, There's no going back. You'll be mine in every way that matters. Say the word, and I'll take you back to your room, leave you untouched, give you more time to... No. The word came out stronger than I felt. No more time. No more running. I choose this. I choose you. Something fierce and possessive flared in his eyes. Then welcome home. The doors opened to a suite that made my blue room look like a closet. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the estate, moonlight spilling across hardwood floors and furniture that whispered of old money and older power. But I barely noticed the opulence. My attention was consumed by Dante as he shrugged out of his jacket, loosened his tie, became less polished businessman and more dangerous predator. Scared? He asked, stalking toward me, terrified. Good. His hands found my zipper, drawing it down with agonizing slowness. Fear keeps you sharp, keeps this real. The dress pooled at my feet, leaving me in nothing but diamonds and lace. I should have felt exposed, vulnerable. Instead, I felt powerful under his gaze, like a goddess being worshipped by a man who'd built empires but would burn them all for one more touch of my skin. Bellissima, he breathed, fingers tracing the diamond necklace resting against my collarbone. These look better on you than they ever did in the vault. Everything looks better on you, even chains. The question escaped before I could stop it. His smile was dark. Especially chains. But Emma Rose, the chains between us, they bind both ways. You think you're the only one caught in this? I've been yours since I opened that closet door and saw you standing there, vulnerable and fierce and so goddamn beautiful it hurt to look at you. His hands framed my face. You've haunted me every moment since. Made me question everything I thought I wanted. Made me realize that all the power and wealth in the world means nothing if I can't share it with you. That's insane. I told you. Insanity is my specialty. He kissed me again. Slower this time. Deeper. Like he was trying to memorize the taste of my surrender. But this? Us? This is the sanest thing I've ever done. Hours later, I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows, and Dante's arm heavy across my waist. For a moment, panic clawed at my throat. Where was I? What had I done? Who was this man beside me? Then memory returned in a flood of sensation and choice. The party. The kiss. The word that changed everything. I'd chosen this. Yes, chosen him. Chosen a life I'd never imagined I deserved. Dante stirred, pulling me closer, his face buried in my hair. Stay, he murmured, voice rough with sleep. Don't run. Don't regret. Just stay. I'm not running. My voice was steadier than I felt. Not anymore. His eyes opened, smoke-colored and searching, looking for truth in my expression. Whatever he saw made him relax. Good, because we have much to discuss about your future. Our future. What about Marcus? The question had to be asked. And Vanessa? And the money they stole? Already handled. Dante sat up, the sheet falling to his waist, exposing the lean muscle and faded scars that mapped a violent history across his skin. My people found Vanessa last night. She's currently in a holding cell explaining exactly where she hid my money and how she planned to disappear. As for Marcus, his expression hardened. He'll live. Barely. But he'll spend the rest of his miserable existence wishing I'd killed him instead of just taking everything that mattered. His freedom, his pride, his future, all gone. That seems fair? Dante's smile was sharp. I told you I don't do fair, but I do keep my promises. I said I'd protect you, Emma Rose. That means eliminating every threat to your safety and happiness. Marcus endangered both. He pays the price. I should have felt horror at his casual discussion of violence. Instead, I felt relief. Marcus was alive but neutralized. The threat was over. I could breathe without waiting for the other shoe to drop. What happens now? I asked. Do I stay locked in your estate forever? A beautiful prisoner in a gilded cage? No. Dante pulled me into his lap, his arms wrapping around me. Now you decide what you want your life to look like. Want to finish college? I'll pay for the best schools. Want to start a business? I'll provide capital and connections. Want to do absolutely nothing except spend my money and look devastating? That's acceptable too. His hands tightened on my waist. The only non-negotiable is staying with me. Everything else is yours to choose. Just like that? You'd give me anything I wanted? Haven't you been listening? His voice was almost exasperated. I'd give you everything, Emma Rose. The world itself, if you asked. You're not a prisoner. You're a partner. My partner. The woman who'll stand beside me and make this empire mean something beyond money and power. I pulled back to study his face, searching for lies or manipulation, but his eyes were clear, intense, honest in a way I'd never seen from Marcus. This man, this dangerous, beautiful, impossible man, meant every word. I want to go back to school, I said slowly, testing the boundaries of this new reality. I had to drop out when my dad died. I was studying literature, wanted to teach. Done. Which university? Columbia, maybe? Or Columbia it is. I'll have my assistant handle the applications and transfer credits. You'll start next semester. He said it like it was already accomplished, like money could solve anything. Maybe it could. What else? I want to help people like me, girls who age out of foster care, who have no one, who end up in situations with men like Marcus because they're desperate for connection. My voice strengthened as the idea took shape. I want to start a foundation, scholarships, housing assistance, job training, everything they need to build real lives instead of just surviving. Dante's expression softened into something that looked almost like wonder. You've thought about this. I've lived it. I know what it's like to be invisible, disposable, forgotten. No one should feel that way. I met his gaze. Can you understand that? Can a man like you, who's never wanted for anything, understand what it means to have nothing? I understand more than you think. His hand came up, tracing the line of my jaw. I grew up in poverty, Emma Rose. Violence and hunger and watching my mother work herself to death trying to keep food on the table. Everything I have, everything I am. I built it from blood and sacrifice and choices that haunt me every day. His eyes darkened with old pain. So yes, I understand. And yes, I'll help you build something that matters, something that turns suffering into purpose. Tears burned my eyes at the rawness in his voice. This man, this terrifying predator who'd stolen me from my life, understood loss and hunger, and fighting for survival. We weren't so different, him and me, just different choices made in the face of impossible circumstances. Thank you, I whispered. Don't thank me yet. Running a foundation means dealing with bureaucracy, donors, people who'll test your patience and question your motives. His smile was wry. Think you can handle that? I handled you, didn't I? His laugh was genuine, surprised. You did. You do. Better than anyone. He kissed me softly, tenderly, without the desperation of last night. My fierce Emma Rose, my partner, my home. A knock at the door interrupted the moment. Mrs. Chen's voice filtered through. Mr. Salvatore, I apologize for the intrusion, but there's an urgent matter requiring your attention. Dante sighed, pressing his forehead to mine. Duty calls. Empire doesn't run itself, unfortunately. He stood, pulling on clothes with efficient grace. Stay here. Rest. I'll have breakfast sent up, and we can continue planning your future when I return. Our future, I corrected. His smile was brilliant. Our future. He left, and I settled back into the massive bed, surrounded by expensive linens and the lingering scent of him. Through the windows, I could see the estate grounds stretching endlessly. Gardens and fountains and carefully manicured perfection. My home now. My life. The thought should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like coming home after wandering lost for years. 3 months later, I stood in the main hall of the newly opened Martinez Foundation, watching young women file through for our first orientation. They looked how I'd felt 3 months ago, scared, hopeful, uncertain if this was real or just another disappointment waiting to happen. Welcome, I said, my voice carrying through the space. I know you're wondering if this is legitimate, if we're really here to help. I know because I was you. 6 months ago, I was working multiple jobs, living in an apartment with roaches, dating a man who lied about everything. I know what it's like to feel invisible. They listened, These girls who'd been forgotten by the system, and I saw myself in every face. This foundation exists because someone saw me when I was at my lowest. Someone gave me a chance to build something real, and now I'm giving you that same chance. I gestured to the staff, social workers, counselors, mentors I'd personally vetted. We're here to help you find housing, finish school, start careers, build lives you actually want to live. No strings attached, no judgment, just support. Applause rippled through the crowd. After the orientation, they dispersed to meet with counselors, and I found myself alone in my office, a space I'd decorated with books and comfortable furniture, making it welcoming rather than institutional. Dante appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame with that predatory grace that still made my heart race. You were magnificent. I was nervous. Didn't show. He crossed to me, pulling me into his arms. They believed every word because it was true. Because you lived it and survived and turned it into something meaningful. His lips brushed my temple. I'm proud of you, Emma Rose. I couldn't have done this without you. Yes, you could have. You would have found a way eventually. I just gave you resources and removed obstacles. He tilted my chin up, his eyes soft. But I'm glad I could help. Glad I get to watch you transform lives the way you transformed mine. Still dramatic, I see. Always. His smile was unrepentant, but also truthful. You made me want to be more than a man who takes what he wants. You made me want to deserve you. You already do. Lie better. But his eyes crinkled with humor. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, my former co-worker at Luciano's. We'd reconnected after I'd finally explained everything, and she'd been surprisingly understanding. Her message read, "Saw the article about your foundation in the Times. So proud of you. Coffee soon?" I showed it to Dante. She wants to meet. Then meet. You don't need my permission to see friends, Emma Rose. You're not a prisoner. I know. But I like checking with you anyway. I wrapped my arms around his neck. Partners, remember? We make decisions together. Partners, he agreed, kissing me thoroughly enough to make my toes curl, though I reserve the right to be possessive when other men look at you. Other men always look, and I always make sure they know you're taken. His expression turned serious. Speaking of which, there's something I want to discuss. He pulled a small box from his pocket, and my heart stopped. Don't panic, he said quickly. I'm not proposing. Not yet. I know you need time to fully trust this, to believe it's real. He opened the box to reveal a ring, white gold with a single diamond that caught the light like captured starlight. This is a promise ring, a promise that when you're ready, when you believe completely that this is forever, I'll ask properly. With a bigger ring and a romantic gesture that would make your literature professors weep. His thumb brushed my cheek. But until then, wear this. Let it remind you that you're mine and I'm yours, and nothing, not time or circumstance or our twisted beginning, changes that fundamental truth. Tears blurred my vision as he slipped the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly, of course. Everything Dante did was perfect, planned, executed with the precision of a man who left nothing to chance. I love you, I whispered. The words came easier now than they had the first time I'd said them, weeks ago in the darkness of his bedroom. I know it's insane and probably some kind of Stockholm syndrome, and my therapist would have a field day. Your therapist thinks I'm good for you. Dante grinned. I may have donated to her clinic. Purely coincidental. You bribed my therapist? I ensured she had the resources to help women like you. If she happens to think our relationship is healthy as a result, well... He shrugged, unrepentant. I told you I eliminate obstacles. I laughed, the sound free and genuine. You're impossible. I'm yours. He kissed me again, slower, deeper, with the certainty of a man who'd claimed what he wanted and would never let go. As you are mine, forever, Emma Rose. If you'll have me. I looked at the ring on my finger, the office I'd built, the foundation helping girls who'd been invisible like me. I thought about the girl in the closet, waiting for a man who'd already abandoned her, thinking that was love. That girl was gone. In her place stood a woman who'd survived betrayal and kidnapping, and falling for a monster, who turned out to be something more complicated, a man capable of terrible violence, but also fierce protection, ruthless ambition, but also surprising tenderness. A man who saw me when I was nothing, and decided I was everything. "I'll have you," I said, rising on my toes to meet his kiss. "Today, tomorrow, forever. I'll have you, Dante Salvatore, my monster, my savior, my home." "Our home," he corrected against my lips. "Everything I have is ours now." And in that moment, surrounded by the foundation I'd built, and the man who'd given me the means to build it, I finally understood what Mrs. Chen had tried to tell me that first night. Dante kept his promises. He'd promised to protect me, and I was safe. He'd promised to give me everything, and my life overflowed with purpose and passion. He'd promised I'd understand eventually, and now I did. Sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected places. Sometimes the monster turns out to be the hero. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find what you were always meant to have. And sometimes, hiding in a closet waiting for the wrong man leads you directly to the right one, even if he is a beautiful, dangerous, impossible mafia boss who looked at a girl with nothing and decided she was worth everything. 6 months later, epilogue. The wedding was small, intimate, nothing like the massive society affair everyone expected. Just close friends, Mrs. Chen crying in the front row, and Rosa beaming as she handed me my bouquet. Dante had wanted to give me the world, but I'd insisted on something simple. "You're already my world," I'd told him. "I don't need 300 witnesses to prove it." Now, standing at the altar in the estate's garden, the same gardens I'd stared at from my balcony that first night, feeling trapped, I looked at the man waiting for me with smoke-colored eyes full of love and possession and unshakable certainty. "Ready?" my escort asked. Sarah had insisted on walking me down the aisle, claiming she'd known me longest and earned the right. More than ready, we walked through rose arbors toward my future, toward the man who'd stolen me from one life and given me another, toward the partner who supported my dreams and challenged me to be more than I'd ever imagined, toward home. Dante's eyes never left mine as I approached. When I reached him, he took my hands, his thumb brushing the promise ring I still wore alongside my engagement ring. "Hello, wife," he whispered. "Not yet," I whispered back. "Close enough." His smile was pure happiness, untainted by darkness or danger, and soon, officially, forever. The ceremony was beautiful, our vows simple but meaningful. When the officiant pronounced us married, Dante kissed me like he was claiming me all over again. Possessive, passionate, perfect. The reception was chaos in the best way. Dancing and laughter and toasts that ranged from heartfelt to scandalous. Isabella had been invited purely so she could watch me marry the man she'd wanted, and her expression alone made the entire evening worthwhile. As midnight approached, Dante pulled me away from the party to the same terrace where I'd said yes 6 months ago. "Happy?" he asked, wrapping me in his arms. Disgustingly so. I leaned into him, the wedding dress rustling like whispers. "Thank you." "For what?" "Everything. Opening that closet door. Seeing me. Choosing me. Giving me this life." "Emma Rose Salvatore," he said, testing my new name. "You gave me more than I gave you. You gave me purpose beyond power. You made me want to be worthy of something good." His hand settled over my heart. "You made me human again. You were always human, just hurt and hiding it behind expensive suits and dangerous threats." "Maybe." He kissed my forehead. "But you healed me anyway, made me believe in things I'd thought were fairy tales. Love, partnership, home." Music drifted from the party, and Dante pulled me into a slow dance under the stars. We swayed together, perfectly matched. No longer predator and prey, but partners in every sense of the word. "Any regrets?" he asked quietly. I thought about the girl in the closet, the waitress counting pennies, the woman who'd thought Marcus was her only chance at love. I thought about how far I'd traveled from that moment to this one. Not a single one. "Good." His arms tightened around me. "Because I'm never letting you go, Emma Rose. You're mine forever, and you're mine. Always was," he murmured against my hair. "From the moment I opened that door and saw you standing there, beautiful, terrified mine, I was yours. I just had to convince you of it. Consider me convinced."
We danced until the music faded and the guests departed until only us remained under the stars in the gardens of our home. The estate that had been a prison had become a sanctuary. The man who'd been a captor had become a husband. The life that had been stolen had become chosen.
And the girl who'd hidden in a closet waiting for someone to find her? She'd found herself instead. Sometimes the best love stories start in the darkest places. Sometimes you have to lose everything to gain what you never knew you needed. Sometimes the monster is the hero, the cage is freedom, and the ending you never saw coming is the one you were always meant to have. This was mine, and it was perfect.